a Corona. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let me put it. They made me a Corona. Wait,
Same as it ever.
we're like.
Where's our Corona?
Where's our Corona? Where's our libations? African queens, no libations.
I was initially thinking about the outside. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Keep that.
Yeah. Always, we're just working on some. Making
Counselor,
sure you guys can hear
would you like
us.
to be on the podcast?
Oh, I'm all set. Thank you. I'll let you,
Making sure you guys can hear us.
What are y'all talking about? Just talking.
People.
People.
We talk about whoever's on here. We talk about
What's the
them.
podcast? What's the name of the podcast?
Well, we have a podcast, which is not really this. Our podcast is about local politics. Okay, great. Our podcast is about local politics. That's called Insert Name Here. But we're Obvious Nonsense, and this is just an Obvious Nonsense pod where we, gang up, act foolish.
Gang.
Yeah, All right, so we're here, and you can, you can turn off the thing and come in.
You can close it.
You can close it and get in there.
And I will get y'all a beer in a minute. See, y'all haven't met my cousin. It's like, that's my ace.
Yeah,
He's
I have to.
He's a lawyer.
Say again. I have to talk trash for the folks.
Cameras.
Welcome to Obvious Nonsense Off Broadway. What's it called?
Imagine Futures.
Imagine Futures live here in Upham's Corner in Dorchester. And again, because we just started podcasting, everybody came over here to start screaming. But it's cool, it's no problem. But we're here, and this is really exciting for us. Nick, you're excited, and we want to see you a little bit. See, that's why I had the camera.
Somebody's Canada Dry down here.
I didn't think the camera was
Noise. You gotta stay hydrated.
I thought it was just gonna be like people coming in.
I just wanted to say, because the gang is here, finally, we have our mentor, our guest, Barrington on live with us.
Oh, my daughters. Oh, the love.
It is a beautiful day.
That's why I told the kid to get into the show.
It's like, it's almost not real unless y'all are here.
It's
It's like if I'm doing stuff and y'all aren't here, I'm like, what am I even doing?
Exactly. This is so exciting for us. But anyway, let me introduce us if you don't know. My name is Malachi Unique. I am 1/3 of Insert Name Here. Next to me, I got the intrepid, the beautiful, the hardworking, ingenious, all that stuff. Alejandra, the great.
That is me. Yes, that is I. Yeah.
The other one more third of Obvious Nonsense. And then on the end here, we have the creative, the talented, the reserved, the introspective, the gorgeous.
Inverted.
You're inverted, exactly. Like Graham once said, inverted. Exactly. That's why I thought it was funny too. Like you literally flipped inside out. Anyway, and that's Hey, Nakira, the bomber. Hey, what's up? And then, like I said, we got the best, the professor. He be vexing. He be vexed also. I had to clarify that one time. I wanted to know if it's both and it is.
Facts.
We call him Barrington. Other people call him other things. And we love him. And we're glad to have him.
Yay.
And we're live here today from his event called Imagine Futures. Whoa, very windy. But there's a bunch of amazing art that's been produced by Barrington, Nakira, and a few other people that have worked together to collaborate on a project focused on imagining the future and Afrofuturism. Barrington, do you want to talk about this project a little bit and the inspiration behind it? I guess you could also talk about who you are. People don't know you.
Well, yeah, I'm Barrington, Professor Vex 8 Edwards, all of those good things. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah.
At this point, this is a labor of love, and it's only fitting that I'm sitting here with my daughters explaining, because I feel like they hold me accountable to everything with so much love, right? They you don't even know. They'll come and show up anytime I'm doing stuff, and they'll tell me when my stuff is whack.
Yes.
They'll tell me when my shit is whack, and they'll say it with love, and they'll tell other people when stuff is whack, and I love it because this is what we need in our life. I'm an artist, a teacher, an illustrator. Graph comics was always important to me. I make comics and I do graph, and I always thought that those two communities needed to have more conversation, but also like the general public needed to be in that conversation. So I designed a project that asked folks to actively imagine, participate in imagining the future, and it's harder than you think because so many people are stuck. Like their real life day to day is so miring them down. But the project is designed to have it was designed to have folks in conversation with prompts that ask them different things about how they envision the future, and then take that information and give it to a team of artists, comic artists, and graph artists to make art.
Yeah.
And we did a little bit of it. It was tough. It was really tough. I would say I did a lot of it. I did a lot of painting.
Yes.
I did a lot of painting because it's like, hey, I gotta fulfill this grant. I gotta show up. People, But the project's not over. I won't let it be over fully. I just realized that I'm used to having a captive group of people to teach and say, do this thing, have this conversation.
Teacher over here.
Yeah, and I realized that when working with the public, it's not like that. You can't say, oh, show up. And people have lives. So,
yeah. And adults be flakier than teenagers. Let's be serious.
They do. And yes, we did have a global pandemic.
True.
So, but that's the project. My long-windedness aside, I apologize.
No, yeah, I wanted to dive in a little bit more about the imagined futures. Like, why that concept? What about that? Because I know that's something that you often do, Afrofuturism. What about that attracts you, and why do you choose this?
I'm gonna need a sip of beer before I talk about that, because I keep listen, whatever.
Yeah,
he's been out here since 7 a.m. setting things up. So if you're free, I don't know why I'm pointing to my laptop. If you're free, come down to damn it, I forgot what it's 572 Columbia Road. We're literally by that pizza shop that's named Up in something. Yeah. Come. Right. There's food. There's drums. There's fun.
It's in the nook, so it's a little hard to figure. It's in the cut. It's really in the cut, but it's so fitting for me because I spent so much of my life in the cut. And, I grew up a block away from here, and I grew up in the cut, doing graph, in corners and spaces like this, and the
graph
spaces.
Is graffiti for the uninitiated.
Yeah. We say graph if you're cool. We're writers. We're excited style writers. But we did this, we hop fences. We, got scraped by looking at barbed wire up there now, and we found spaces that were distressed, cool. And we painted because art was calling to us. And we shared black books, and we raised each other, and we communicated through that, and we pushed each other artistically before art school. So this is all before art school for me. So when I went to art school, it's like you couldn't tell me nothing, because I've been making art for a long time. And why imagine futures, Malachi? I think that because now I'm a teacher and I'm a responsible adult, right, for the most part.
That's what they all say.
I'm a responsible adult. If I said it, I meant it. Hold my tongue for no one, as Biggie said, right?
Deadass. That's me too, though.
They don't say I did everything right, but I'm responsible for it. I see that one of the biggest deficits we have in our society is people can't really they can't move forward in a positive direction because we collectively we can't really imagine. We can't even imagine what better looks like because we just keep having conversations about but this police, but the government, but or my baby daddy. You keep when I talk to people about tomorrow, they keep talking about today, and what the problem is as if they can't even imagine. Imagining is free.
True.
It's free. The only thing stopping you is your anxiety or your depression or your need to get that out of your system. But if we can start imagining the future, we can start intervening in the future. We can start planning and say, all right, this is about to come and I don't approve. They're about to tear down this community center and I'm not with it. That's my kids are a big part of that. And I'm speaking hypothetically, right? But I think we have to be able to imagine a better future if we're going to get in front of it, right? We have to be able to say, this is what I believe in. This is what This is where the line is. And I think comics and graffiti are two medium that really they always enlist people in imagining. You know, we read comics, we watch manga, anime. People, everyone has a Netflix account, everyone has a Disney account. We consume so much media that we're always imagining, but we're imagining stuff that people are directing you to imagine.
Right. Yeah. I think it's so interesting you say that people can't imagine, because I felt very similarly. I also, like, when you were speaking, I thought of this quote where I don't know where it came from, but and I've been looking for it for a long time. But it's something like, if you ask a black man where he's going, he'll tell you where he's been. And that, I thought of that when you were speaking a little bit. I think there is a lot of, like, for me, like, I'm a person who loves history and think it's super important to know and understand. But I think a lot of people get so easily trapped in, like, I feel like the failures of history, and then they can't step forward. So I think it's really interesting and powerful to see you, like, push the idea of imagining a future, like thinking like let's just imagine there is a future, because I think sometimes that's even an argument, is there going to be a future for some people. And I also think there's some uniqueness, and don't feel offended if I say this, but in your age group and being a black man, I feel like a lot of black men your age can't imagine, and I understand why. There's a lot of stuff that happen to people that make it so that that stuff is locked off for people. So I think it's a really powerful and, like, a unique sort of concept to really try to think about what a material future here, like what a future here looks like.
100, 1,000, 1,000,000%.
But yeah.
When you said it, you put it, like, once again, you always go right to the heart of it, right? Because I care about everybody, and, like, race, class, gender, everything in between. But yeah, I'm so concerned about black men, and because a lot of times it's like a mirror. I see myself in it, and I have an art son. My wife always reminds me, you have at least one art son, and he calls me from his detention center, like, almost on clockwork every Friday, to say, Mr. Edwards, I appreciate you. This is what I'm doing. I just want to say hi. He's like, you mean so much to me. He calls me to tell me this, to tell me how important I am to him, and he's in a tough situation. He's worked, and he's an amazing artist. And he's worked through so much stuff. But, like, yeah, for him to be able to sit and imagine what freedom looks like and what his future looks like, I can't honor that enough. One of my best friends, my cousin is here, like, down this, like, around the corner, my nephew, and they'll tell you, like, one of my ace growing up on Faison Street, the same situation, and he'll call me, and have his little brother call me, like, it's the same thing, and he has such a vivid picture of what he's going to do when he has the opportunity to do it, when he's free, and that's so powerful. These two men that I know intimately, they're in such a constrained way. It's that they're physically constrained, but they can imagine the future. And here we are, right? Supposedly breathing free air, walk where we want to walk, do what we want to do. And yeah, that quote you pulled, I want that on the shirt all day. Like, where you've been is important, but actively tell me where you're going. Like, let's imagine the future together. And I think it's important for everyone, and really for kids. Really, it's really important for young people to not give over your imagination to any corporation, not give to any one ideology, to have your imagination be the one place where you're completely, utterly free.
Yeah, I think when you've been working on this project for quite a long time, and we've also just been involved, just giving our feedback. Well, Nakira also has a piece up that we should put a picture of in a second. Yeah. But we've been involved in the process, and just hearing people's perspectives. I think all of us collectively have this, like, outlook on that there's so much we can do and so much we can do to move forward. And a lot of people, when we were working through this process and we were hearing people's opinions, they were like, well, I can't do this. And we were like, but what if we said you can? I remember one of our sessions, we literally asked somebody, if you had no barriers to your art, what would you do? And he couldn't answer. And I was like amazed.
It's actually kind of like painful, like a little bit, like when you know, like when you talk to certain people and then they'll say something mad nonchalant and you're like, damn, that's literally the saddest shit I ever heard. that's kind of how I felt. Like, it's not like the saddest thing I've ever heard, but it's like just the idea that, like, even if you say, like, just imagine you don't have any barriers. You can't imagine a life where you don't have any barriers to doing what you want to do, doing something you're great at, doing something, you know, that brings you joy and all that stuff. Like, that's sad, you know.
No, that's the same sentiment that I had, was just this realization that so many people are just stuck in this like loop of not thinking of what could be or what can be done. Even like this project, I bet there are so many people that couldn't even fathom putting together a project or putting together an event because they don't think it's possible. They don't think, especially like the city of Boston, where allegedly Black people don't exist, even though there are like 4 of us right here and like 10 million more behind us. They think you can't have these spaces and you can't have like our own art in our own communities. And so they think just because you can't, you will not, you'll never be able to. But it's about making sure people know that our spaces are here. We have artistic communities. We have these spaces that exist, that are living and breathing.
Literally. And that's the thing too. Like, people are just saying, like, Alejandro just made a TikTok video like a few weeks ago about the music scene in Boston, the Black music scene, and how people often say there's no music scene, but, you know, or people don't support each other, but really it's just that, you know, like, it needs to be more robust. Like, people do need to just get more involved and do more and all that stuff like that. But people say like, oh, there's people don't make these spaces, or we're all crabs in a barrel. And it's so funny because I'm like, I know, so like almost everybody I know is an artist, is a creative, is a musician, is a whatever, because I find those people. I cultivate a community of people who are like-minded, who care about the things I care about, and who also care about making a community about those things. So like, if you're not really doing that, it's really hard. It's like really weird for you to say like, oh, there is no art community, there's no music community, whatever. But you know, I say that.
It's like, have y'all been to Zoomix?
I say that, yeah, well, I have.
Shout out.
I say that to say, because, you know, like, yeah, you are one of those people who creates a space for especially Black artists to come together and, you know, be able to express their art in a like, you know, in a holistic, like, so, you know, being you know, because like, we know, like, you be going places, you can't always be you. Also, I'm sorry, my brain is still off because that man came and leaned over the camera. that took me out.
You know, I was fighting back tears from laughing. You looked into my eyes and then it made it out.
He was so curious.
I didn't mean to look. I knew when I looked at the camera it was a mistake, bro. I said, it was I'm like, not crazy. Am I hallucinating?
I had to look away.
Have you seen that meme, that the Instagram video is going around with a woman who's a farmer, but then she has this ostrich that keeps like every time she's trying to like, yeah, that's what he was, and he kind of tall, yeah.
He looked like the ostrich.
But hey,
that's what he was saying. He looked like the ostrich. That's what he was thinking. That he looked like the ostrich. No, but that really, though, it really messed me up. Like, I can't even focus thinking about it.
It was great, but you know, so that's an important thing. Like, what I realized in doing this, when you're in the public, you're in the public. When you're making art in public, you're in the public, right?
Literally.
Exactly.
We even have a live audience.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. You should definitely make like a lot of excitable noises.
Just start wooing.
Yeah.
And Renee is so dope. Like, I know Renee for a long time. Like, and he's like always doing the work and do the same thing. And that's why like, I know so many dope people doing the work, you know. Hey, David, my brother-in-law. Like, so many people doing like this great work, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, I spoke about like how I came to graffiti. Graffiti was a community for me, right? It was a community. It was not just like me painting. It's like you have a crew of people who you're learning with, who you're trying to kind of build things with. I'm looking out now, and my nephew Cedric, Vice One Douglas, painted right beside my other like Ace, my brother from another mother, Francois Leon, like who came in. I literally texted him. We were planning this at the S4 side, and they said, "Well, we kind of want a mural." I'm like, If you're serious, I can make a call. I text somebody and my big sister Ruth, and boom, and they both said, yeah, definitely, absolutely.
That's
So
awesome.
the community aspect of artists and art makers and musicians and dancers, like we stay close and we stay
Right.
doing things, but it's hard.
Right, it
it's
is.
hard, and we're all doing programs. But I think what we need more cultural institutions,
Right.
and we need to make space. So, like the metaphor of like this little tent with art in it is like trying to like, hey, we're trying to make even if it's this, even if it's just that, making a little space. This is a spatial justice grant and a spatial justice program, and I know a lot of people don't necessarily, vibe or don't understand with that idea, but yeah, if you think about it, like space, we all need space, right? The last couple of years have showed us we all need personal space, but we also need a space to be, places to go to. So I'm always trying to create that. If I have a little bit of space, everybody's welcome. And I see Kim, like, I see so many cool people like who supported this. There's so many great organizations. Like shout out to NEFA, the New England Foundation for the Arts. Cannot have to say it, not just because they gave me money, but they do dope stuff. So if you're an artist and you're trying to make things happen, write grants, right? Oh, not seeing me, but hey, it's vibes. But there are so many great organizations that fund your programs, but you got to also go a step beyond that and figure out how to fund and develop a cultural institution.
Right.
Even if it's a small space, even if it's just you and your friends in your, in your living room, like create that thing that's regular, right? Create that vibe and then grow. Use the internet.
That's how we got to be.
Right?
Yeah.
Malaysia had the idea of us starting like a YouTube channel, and from there it's grown into like a multimedia company where we have insert name here, our political podcast, we have our comic, we have a variety of different things that we want to work on, just trying to build up.
Oh, where's the spray bottle?
Y'all are so dope. That's why I mess with y'all. Like y'all are so dope.
The spray bottle for
like, yay.
Soon, when they soon get that. Not looking quite like this. It's a little ghetto right now, but
that's a test one.
This is just for testing, but
it's a spray bottle, the Obvious Nonsense spray bottle.
Yeah.
Yep.
To cool you down or for your hair?
Well, either way, you
put a little propeller, little fan in front of it, a little personal AC thing.
Literally, we have an add-on component. Yep. You get an optional add-on component, 50 cents extra. You can have a little fan.
I love it. But there you go. Do it. Whatever your crazy idea is, do it and build a community. It can, and your community can be global. You link in with. Y'all gotta come one day. Y'all gotta come with me to like BlurredCon down in DC.
Okay, but BlurredCon is so like problematic. No, I'm kidding. But
I
also don't like nerds. I don't like nerds.
You can't argue with that one. You can't.
I don't like nerd.
I used to say nerd kind of said blurred.
You know what used to be funny, bro? I used to tell people I don't date blurs because it keeps away. It's not true, but it keeps away the dude you don't want. If you say I don't date blurs, the ones who get offended by that, it's perfect.
I mean, that no facts. There's like when the people that I follow understand. Do you know Fantastic Frankie online? Like,
maybe
it's very similar, like woman who watches anime and reads comics, but like there's a huge argument and a huge reason to stay away from blurs because sometimes they're annoying. I think that my point is that there's community out there. There's community out there, and I'm annoying, and I'm a blur. But I know.
This is the difference. That's the type of annoyance. It's the like. I have to get into this rant every time I come on this conversation. It's like it's the self-confidence. It's like you obviously, like you said, you're grown, but like you have confidence in yourself. You're put together. You're living your life. Like you're not crying because of nothing. My thing is honestly, I think it's really interesting when people talk about like how people interact with them, because like I've had some really like unique experiences of like looking very different, of like being weird, of like, and that sort of thing. And it's like, I think a lot of people are not honest with themselves. Like, I'm like, bro, if you're weird, bro, you're weird. Like, don't try to act like, oh. And then when it comes to like dudes and dating, I say for a lot of the dudes who feel like, oh, I could never get the girl that I liked or whatever, it's because she was out of your league, bro. You didn't want the girl that wanted you. Don't say nobody wanted you. Somebody wanted you. You just didn't want her.
Guys are dumb.
But
young guys, I was completely dumb. I didn't understand that till everything you said. Facts. I didn't understand that till I was in my mid 20s.
Exactly, and that's why when you say you don't date blurs, it keeps them away until they're freaking evolved into humans you can have a conversation with.
But those a lot of the people I define when I have conversations about what that means, and I know this is not a blurred podcast or what it's about, but because we're doing it.
It is a blurred
podcast. It is. It's comments and nerds. So first of all, like to me.
You're a liar. You said you're not a blurred.
Graffiti artists are nerdy in a very different way, right? Like you don't like
right, exactly.
Graffiti artists like and graffiti artists in hip hop. Those are the dudes that'll bust your ass.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's the other thing. I think that's the other thing when people that like. That's why I say when I say that it keeps a very specific type of person away because I know. Like that blurs can be anybody. I know that blurs can be that dude selling crack on the street. I know that, blurs can be whoever that. I know that my mom's a blurred. I know that. But the dudes who are like that stereotypical Urkel type of thing, that's how they feel. That's not even how they are, but that's how they feel. They're like, those are the ones you can like be like, those are the ones who make it their identity, and it's not people don't like. It's not that people don't like you because of that. People don't like you because you're unlikable. You are unlikable. It's you that is unlikable.
So what I had a colleague, and we had to like break down. Like this is years ago. We taught together. We had to break down the hierarchy of geeks, nerds, and dorks. And geeks, nerds, and dorks are very different, right? Honestly, actually, nerds are people who got good grades, and I never got good grades. I was smart. I was academic.
Yeah, I would say geek was the right.
Yeah, geeks like you just know some shit
stuff
really, really deep that you don't really need to know.
Exactly.
And dorks are like,
loser. You're a loser.
You thought like you think you're smart, and you don't have the social grace to understand that you're annoying. And hopefully, many people grow out of that dorkness, and hopefully one day I'll grow out of my dorkiness. But I think
that's the thing. That's how you know you're not a dork because you're cool. Because if you think you're a dork, right? Then isn't that like the what's it called? The paradox of dorkiness.
Well, yeah. I mean,
if you acknowledge your dorkiness, are you really a dork? Because they doing everything, bro.
They're doing the most. When you're in public making art, you are in public
making art.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly.
Like,
and that's why we don't go outside.
And those dudes hold me down. Like those dudes, like they cleared the space, they cleaned it, they helped get the cars out. Like folks, for real, like the public. It humbles me, right? It humbles me and it reminds me like why I do things and who I do it for. My man actually, while we were doing this podcast, he came through and went in and looked at the work and nodded. And he had his hands behind his back like he's in like the MFA.
Like yes,
that means a lot to me. And then tomorrow he might want to fight me, and that's cool. I think the humility, other people telling me like I don't want to go around like my shit's dope because other people were like, me and France were talking about it yesterday. Like that when you do that, they'll think, but hey, this person is. I'm not gonna get into that that paradigm. But I think humility is important, but also swagger and understanding, confidence in what you are and what you can do is also important. That tension will push it back and forth. And y'all have all of that in spades. And
we're organic and dynamic, according to Marcel.
Sorry. Love you, girl. She's a
Garcia.
A reporter from the Globe called you
organic and dynamic. Correct.
And Garcia. I see only facts.
Correct. All right, Barrington,
So-
we're gonna kick you out.
Oh,
Bring
I
somebody
love
else
it.
here,
No problem.
so you
All
can
right.
go back
Peace
to your
out.
event.
Do start all y'all.
Facts. It was a great conversation. We will bring you back again for sure.
Nonsensical people. Should I send people over, or y'all gonna just talk amongst yourselves?
Send somebody over.
Yeah, you can send somebody over.
All
We'll
right.
talk to Nakia real quick.
All right. Hello.
That was great.
That was great. All right, Nakira, up on the stage.
Nakia, my good friend, you got a little maroon on your shoulder.
Yeah, sure do.
Barrington, move away.
Yeah, you know you got a loud voice.
All right, Nakira, welcome
Hi.
to the stage.
Hi.
Yeah, we already introduced you, obviously, and you know you're obvious nonsense, so we ain't even gonna treat you with no respect.
Wow.
And we just gonna be hella
Just
disrespectful.
be disrespectful.
Wow.
Dan, I wish I could find a way to plug the art thingy. Maybe can we switch chairs for a second?
Yeah, I've been sweating on this chair. I'm sorry about that.
But you know me.
You're gonna have it's a little slippery.
We're gonna try and find a way to put up a picture. Did you send it to me?
No, I'm sorry. I'll send it to you though.
We're gonna pull up Nakira's art that she created for this. And we're just
Okay.
gonna talk a little bit about it. But
yeah, so Nakira, they also know you in these streets, these internet streets as hey. I just want you to, you know, introduce yourself, say what you do, type thing, how you got here, type thing, you know. Know what I mean?
Okay. Well, Barrington asked a bunch of local artists about this event, and I was interested because it's been a while since I did traditional art, and let alone graphic stuff like graffiti. So I'm interested in doing that and participating. And I always want to like make public art because I do believe that Boston needs more space for like youths, especially to do their thing. Because number one thing for me is I want like younger Black people specifically to know that I do have the resources and space to do things like this. Like I want to be an example of anything, and you know it was. Even though it was like a small contribution.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's major. I think that's I feel like it's something that we always sort of talked about, like, because if y'all didn't know, Obvious Nonsense, we've known each other since like 7th grade, really, but been friends since high school. But it's a hit. But I think this is kind of something that we've talked about, like as you know, over the years, is the fact that like how art is not like necessarily seen as an avenue for people to pursue, and how there are so few spaces for people to be really free with their art, like you know, like actually express themselves, and you know, just to do it in general. Like I think it's interesting. We live in Boston where there are so many like nonprofit organizations, yet like somehow it feels like there are so many gaps unfilled,
Right.
like when it comes to especially stuff like this.
Right, exactly that.
Yeah, I think it's super important, and I'm really glad that like you'll be able to have this up, well, hopefully up somewhere, like because I think, hey, you know, it's the best artist I know. But I really think like I also think there's it's interesting. Like I think we both sort of agree in the idea that like art can have a message without being so aggressive or like direct in your face. And I think that there's a uniqueness in your art, especially that isn't often seen, in like you know like mural art. That like that it's the like the nuance. I feel like when people are making murals, like they're like, oh, let me make sure the message is very clear, so if anyone walking past just gets it. But I really appreciate from your piece is like how it makes you think and consider, and you know, like so when you heard Imagine Futures, like how did you get to what you got to from that?
I was contemplating it for a while, and what ended up happening is I was drawing from everybody else, and everybody else was like showing like how we're gonna get there and what happens in between. But I was thinking more of like the aftermath. Like mine is very, very interpretive, but it's just supposed to represent like a soft reboot. Like things may not be as nice now, but there's something better on the horizon.
Right. And I think your piece stands out uniquely among a lot of the other pieces that we saw, like just for the fact that it does present the action, like the future, the end, like not the end, but like the end of the story. And I think that a lot of the other pieces are very not necessarily negative, but they're not. I feel like they don't show like you don't see where the growth, like I feel like I think it's the plant motif especially, like you don't see the new life, the new growth in a lot of the other pieces. And I think it's really like useful that for your piece of imagined futures, that you know actually showed the growing, changing future, that the future is continuing forever, like it's always the future, there's more future to come, like because like yours especially also has like like babies. So like I think that really, and be careful, that really highlights that really highlights like that the future is it's now, and it's also forever.
Yeah, I really wanted to emphasize that, like, what we're doing now affects generations to come.
That's
Basically.
that's amazing. And then if you want to be all basic in thought, we get to be like climate change. We about to destroy the planet and then become flower people. That's what I heard. That's we go through the orbs and come out.
I
We gonna
personally
be
can travel through the orbs. Yes,
we're gonna
exactly.
come out.
Yeah,
Bud.
can you
Bud
travel
humans.
through the orbs? No.
Barrington can travel.
We'll
through the
upload a
orbs.
picture later of Nakira's art. Restream is whack. He doesn't let me put it. Mainly
Yeah,
because we don't have a green
we
screen.
don't have a
else.
green screen.
I was like, I was
We
trying
have
every
some
way.
green leaves.
We have the greenery, but we don't have a green
Literally,
screen.
if we would have been up against that thing, it's like a green moss wall.
You can't put like a little picture inside.
Well, can you
I
put
could
it?
like share my screen.
Oh yeah, maybe you could do that for a second, just to show the image. And then if anybody ever watches the playback of this, they can look at Nakira's picture. But yeah, like I also really appreciate the colors. Like what? How did you come to those colors? You just like them or what?
I drew it like basically I was waiting for everybody else to figure out what they're going for, and I saw a lot of purples and blues. I wanted like a softer palette, so it feels like calmer towards the end. Like everything feels really intense in the other ones, and I just wanted like a calm resolution.
Yeah, I feel like that's really just like Black people be depressing about what's gonna happen. I feel like it's just sort of a unique perspective about like what we imagine. Like yeah, I think for me, what really resonates about it for me is just the idea that time continues. Like it like things just go on. They will go on. Like no matter what happens, despite everything that happened before, time continues to progress. Like so I really appreciate that your piece is like at the conclusion of this thing. Like it really feels like a culmination of everything. And I love these magnets. These are great. Y'all want these?
So you won't, if you're watching this live, you won't be able to see us, obviously, but you can see Nakira's art, and it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Nakira, did you use this
Airbrush?
Airbrush. What was the technique?
Yeah, with
I know it was a
medium.
process.
I know.
Medium.
Could you mention that you usually do visual art? I mean, not visual. Digital. Digital.
I used acrylic, and the intent was to use an airbrush because I feel like there was going to be a lot of learning curve with spray paint itself.
Mm-hmm.
But the airbrush that I got, the compressor wasn't very good, so that was a lot of trials and tribulations. So until I gave up and just used traditional techniques of a toothbrush and flicking the bristles of the toothbrush until it made a gradient.
Okay. See, that's hood ingenuity. That's that Dorchester ingenuity, not a pin gang.
That is, yes.
You know? And I think that I actually like it better because it's like it adds more texture.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the airbrush is really soft, and I wanted it to be like a dither effect.
I think that I also think your piece has like the elements are also intentional. I feel like which really make like the colors are intentional, the shading, the like I said, the medium you use is intentional. And it's really beautiful. It's really very nice.
I think to me what obviously, haha, I got to see it in the making.
Right.
Sneak peeks we got. But for me, sorry, the music is very distracting. Sorry, it's very distracting. When you have a thought, the music get louder somehow. What I really appreciated from it, like Alicia mentioned a couple minutes ago, was the colors, but just the fact that the pastels of it and it being a lighter color that we don't typically see a lot, especially when we think of this graffiti
Future, right.
and like the future space. You think of the future as being, I don't know, very like
Dark.
metallic-y and dark.
Every time they show the future, like, you know, they choose futuristic cities, it's always like perpetually nighttime.
It's gray.
Like
the future is never bright. It's never like a fun pastel. It's never a fun color where you think of like you think of the future as being something bright and adventurous and something that you can try.
I wanted it to be dreamy.
Yes,
Right.
yes, very dreamy. Yes, perfect. That's a perfect way to say it because it feels like you're in like Candyland or something.
Right.
Like you're in an adventure, which we don't think about the future as
Right.
sometimes.
And I think uniquely it also shows the future as like in line with Earth. Like it doesn't show mechs, it shows plants.
Yeah, that is a good point because obviously you guys can't see it, haha. Unless you come here,
If you come through, you can see it.
you can see it, or you see later on. But if you see like, especially Barrington's art, Barrington works a lot with like that, like very like the regular style of Imagine Futures, where it's very like robotic and grunge and like very metallic-y and just darker
in tone.
Yes, in tone. And in vibe sometimes.
And in vibe and in color sometimes.
Yeah.
It darker.
Darker. But Nakira goes on like the opposite end, and I think it adds some like dynamicness. It's very organic and dynamic to have like two different views of how you can imagine the future, which just speaks to like the whole concept of Imagine Futures, that like Nakira and Barrington can have like the same prompt to base off of, but create such different work and what they think the future could be. Like Barrington thinks of like robots and them being like protector people, and Nakira thinks of like the connection to nature. And there's two different ways to take it, but there's so many different ways that you can look at it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, this is great.
I'm gonna stop sharing now.
Right, we probably find somebody else to hop on the.
Okay, I'll ask Barrington to act.
Somebody acts Lori or Letta or Cedric or
Okay. Thank
Francois.
you for having me.
Thank
you, pal.
you for coming, homie. Yeah, we're back at it again with the white vans. I don't know how loud the music is for y'all. I hope y'all can hear a little bit.
On this, like, fine. It's just us. This mic is quite good.
Oh, this mic is really good. It's really powerful.
I didn't think it would be this good outdoors.
We have Lori. We have Letta. We have Cedric.
Okay.
Hey.
Yeah, would you like to be on?
Wait. Sure.
Come
on
join.
in.
You don't have to be.
Come on in.
Hey, oh my God.
What's
How
up?
you doing? My name's
Renee.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And you're?
I'm Karen.
Nice to meet you, Karen.
Alejandra.
Oh, hey, Helen.
So, yeah, welcome to Obvious Nonsense. We're off Broadway, you know, Imagine Futures. So, Renee, I heard you work for Zoomix.
I do. I work as the radio station manager. at
Awesome.
Zoomix. Do you know Zoomix?
Yes, I
work with Zoomix.
Do you work at Zoomix?
I don't
you
work.
currently work.
I
at Zoomix?
don't work at Zoomix. I used to be a long time ago. I was a youth organizer at some community bunch of things. I was a youth organizer, but we worked with Zoomix quite often because you know we made a lot of music. At
Oh
that.
yeah, it's a fun space. I mean, you know, I feel like anytime I've told people, I'm like, oh, I work at East Boston, they're like,
Right.
that's so far away, and I'm like,
It is though.
it isn't though.
But it's close to the train station. It's not that far.
It's like
I mean,
I've timed myself. It's only 2 minutes from Maverick Station.
Okay,
on the Blue Line.
fair enough. But let's talk about how the tea is going right
Okay,
now.
go. Yeah.
And they don't like to let you bring your bike on the blue line. I'm a cyclist. Yeah, like on there you have. Yeah, it's
Okay.
so they be mad racist about it a little bit, but
Yeah, well,
yeah, I'm super excited to have you here. So what brought you to this event?
my partner Crystal is part of DS4SI,
Okay.
and I've known Barrington for a while, and honestly, just to come and check it out and be in the space. And I was like, I looked at the thing that said podcasting, and I was like, oh, podcast. Oh, you're gonna interview Kristen too? Okay.
Yeah, Barrington put together a list of people.
But I'm not the person who came here the farthest. The person who came here obviously the farthest.
Yeah, I came from Marshall.
Whoa!
Oh, wow.
Okay, you really came out. What brought you here?
So I actually met Barrington a couple of weeks ago
Okay.
at one of his figure drawing sessions, and
Our
he
very
told me
good.
about the show. So it's
Very
like,
good,
come and
very
check it
good,
out.
very good. We love those.
We love going to the figure drawing.
So you're a visual artist.
Yes,
Awesome.
I like to draw.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was gonna ask you. So obviously we're podcasting.
Well,
We're
that's
doing a
live?
No,
podcast. We're live.
We're
Right
live
now.
right
Yeah, we're
now.
live right now.
Yes, that was Cedric Douglas.
Currently the name is Obvious Nonsense Off Broadway. Imagine Futures Live.
This is
Yes.
Obvious Nonsense.
Yes, you're on our list. Yeah, actually, next pretty soon. You are. Barrington
Barrington
wrote
put
the
you there.
list. Yeah.
He offered you up.
Yeah,
You're on the cutting block, the chopping block, whatever way.
Yep.
Yep.
But yeah, I was gonna ask to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you we just talked about
Yeah, we're on.
yeah. We just our viewers are used to this
Yes.
sort of behavior.
Oh,
we
We don't
can when we post it on like Spotify or something.
We're
But
currently live. In case you don't know, we're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch,
Twitter.
Twitter. And yeah,
feel
you can
free
grab
to
a
take a
magnet or a sticker.
magnet.
Oh, it's a magnet.
But yeah, so I was talking with Nakira a little bit about, she's a visual artist and about how something that's really important to her is having spaces for youth to create art and stuff like that. And so I thought about that with you for Zoom Mix because, it's one of the few places in the city where youth can really record and do radio stuff and be so what about that what does Zoom Mix mean for a community and for the city
I think it's it means a lot. So it means specifically Zoom is I think means a community center that is looking at you not as a commodity but as kind of a gift to your neighborhood. And so everyone who comes in the door has a gift. They might not have unlocked it yet. I literally just seen a Sprouts concert, which is all these little 7, 8-year-olds with ukuleles yesterday, and I was super inspired. I just sat there and I was like,
no, me
man.
too.
These little 7-year-olds are going up and they're going and they're belting out a song and doing it as a group, and I just kept thinking how important that is to do, not just as a young person but as an adult, and to see that as an adult and to be that's the type of energy that we should be bringing into all spaces. Kind of let's try it, let's do this in a way that's why I love seeing this where folks are out, Lori's hanging out here what up, and folks are showing their art and I know the wind has been pretty crazy, but everybody's kind of working together, and so a community space that is established physical space can do that for any neighborhood or any street, but it comes down to who are the people in the building, who are the people on air, who are the people who are putting up the thing, and what are their intentions.
Yeah, definitely.
We've probably been in many spaces where you're oh, okay, you're trying to charge me later for something. I don't want to do that.
Definitely, and I think it's also super important, especially when you're talking about something that's very community based, for it to be community led. And I think I feel like that's something that Boston specifically struggles with, because there are so many community organizations and stuff like that, but a lot of them are not community led, and they don't necessarily get at the needs of the community in a way that works for the people they're trying to serve, because because you can't really know what people need.
It's almost like but it's kind of tough because like I think it has to start organically, which means
Right.
it doesn't start big.
Right.
And when something does start big, like I think there's a spot. I'm not gonna name the spot, but I know there's a spot out near Jackson Station. And I'm like, wow, y'all have a building and everything, but
Right.
I'm not really sure
How you got there. That's always very suspicious. Especially in Boston, like I said, we're like a nonprofit city. So like when somebody just like appears with like bad money, you're just like,
where did that come from?
Who are you?
But I mean, I think this, like, say for example, making the podcast, working on like putting on events, whatever that is, as long as it's building, it's not like gonna like all of a sudden you'll have like a community spot for folks to kind of bump in and do the thing. That's why like this is like the what's it called again? I'm calling it the dojo, but the gym over here, which is like trying to create space, right? So that folks can make workshops.
Right.
So like I just saw Bedouin, who's an artist over here, so screen print. He put down he's gonna do a screen printing workshop. I'm like, oh,
that's awesome.
I would like to go to that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to that.
So things like that, you're like, oh, more of those spaces that are much more like peer led,
Right.
So
mutual aid almost,
Yeah.
So I wanted to get your thoughts on the Gallery of Art here today and just what you thought about what you saw here and what you took away from Nakira's work, which is the pastel one behind the wall, and then Barrington's, and I think there's a mixture of somebody else there as well. Just what you thought and what you took away from it, because the focus is Imagine Future. So what did you see when you looked at this art today?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really cool. I actually got a sneak peek of it a couple of weeks ago when I went to a studio.
So did we. It was spoiled for us already.
Yeah, but it looks really great, like out here, even better. I would say, I've seen a lot of like murals and stuff. I've lived in New York City for a couple of years because of college as well, and like there are always people who are, I suppose they're probably hired to like put them up there, but then there are also ones that like I think people just paint on their own. I think those are kind of the coolest ones.
Yeah,
that's what Barrington's like.
Yes,
yes.
The graffiti style, like the gorilla. That's the type I like too. I don't want sanctioned art projects. No, I want law breaking.
I wish it wasn't illegal though, honestly. Like,
literally. Okay, if you have a blank wall, why can't I put something pretty on there?
Yeah.
Explain it.
It's interesting. Well, there's more energy in that. Like, you guys go out to the Pro Black, like, big wall out there by South Station?
I haven't seen.
I haven't gone there yet, but I heard about it. Yes.
Yeah, I think like obviously we're moving towards giving more funding to more folks to create these types of murals and spaces, and I'm sure that there's going to be like more attention put on it. Like, it's wonderful to see that up by South Station, because that space has been utilized by international and national artists,
right?
And that's all fine and dandy, but like, why not give it to a local artist?
Right.
And why not continually give it to a local artist?
Right.
Like,
Showcase, highlight local artists.
If anything, that should be like these big spaces that get painted and are funded should be local artists. Like, Pro Black, awesome. Yes. Next time you get, whoever else you get in there to like fill it up and be like, dang, that's another Bostonian, that's another person in the community. So I'm looking forward to that, and I feel like y'all should have Cedric Douglas on.
Yes,
he's painting the mural right now.
Right.
And so maybe that might be a nice.
Yes, that sounds good. When he's ready, we'll have him hop on.
We should yell out Cedric.
Cedric,
1, 2, 3.
Cedric!
We want you on the show.
You ready? Are you ready?
It's like, man.
If you're not, it's fine. But
it's like, y'all can both jump on.
You're gonna.
Thank you guys for having us.
Awesome. Thank you for jumping on.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for being part of it.
Take a magnet or a sticker.
Magnet sticker. Yeah, we got a photographer. Not my Gatorade. Yeah, a dry mouth.
Electrolytes. It's kind of hot outside. If you guys didn't know that.
So it's not video, right?
It is video.
It is?
Yeah, you can hide in the side if you don't want to be visible.
I can, but I just take this out.
You can have one. Yeah. It's a sticker and a
Definitely.
magnet.
Yeah, one's a magnet, one's a sticker.
I'm glad I remembered to bring them.
See, look, he has
You guys know the question. What I said?
Right here. Perfect.
That's a video camera.
Yeah.
Yep. Got all the supplies and everything.
This is how you look in case you would like to know how it looks.
Not really.
Yeah. You guys got the setup outside.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where's the power running? It's all
That was
charged.
just from the laptop.
I have a hotspot, so.
Yeah, but how's it charging? It's been running, but if it dies,
Oh, I have it. I have my computer charging on this charger, and
that's charging the computer.
yeah,
The cell phone one.
yeah. This is an Anchor one. This one, it's like $80 or something. So it's,
Yeah, it's a heavy
it's built
duty
to like
battery
charge
pack.
computers.
Oh wow.
It's charging it slowly because obviously we're streaming, but
Whose is this? Actually, I'm only drinking someone's drink.
Yeah, that was the Kira's second ginger ale, but
all right. So
Is there a list of questions?
it's
Not
not list.
specific,
We
we're
just
just-
gonna we organic and dynamic if you haven't heard. So we just gonna converse, bro. We
This
gonna
is a dope thing.
conversate.
I remember when I met you guys. The year was at the library in Grove Hall.
Mhm.
You know, talking about making some kind of
Negrology. What was that?
It was like an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Yes, negrology.
That was it called? Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
so
That's a dope.
we're still working on it. We'll be working on it probably for a long time to come. But
And then you should get that like blasted so we can
Yeah.
get some attention so people can buy it.
right.
I think it's a dope idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're super excited to have you here. I've been like watching you a little bit, doing a little bit of your mural on that wall over there.
Yep.
But first, I just want to, ask you to introduce yourself and tell us how you got here, why you here today. That thing.
I'm here today to support a project that Barrington Edwards is doing over here, that he's been doing for a while. Imagine spatial justice in relation to comic books and graffiti. So I'm happy to finally be part of it and to do this piece with Francois, who
Right.
came down from Montreal.
Yeah, it's really nice.
So we're working on this, with Design Institute for Social Intervention
Mm-hmm.
partnership.
And yeah, so I'm looking at it's really intriguing me. Like, what was the thought process? Like, why this sort of image? Like, what's going on here? Talk to me. For like the people can't see it, so make them see it with your words.
Well, I'll give more. Francois was the lead on the design. We kind of put this together in a short amount of time, so it was a lot of thoughts, and we were trying to think about like this futuristic place,
Oh, I see it.
kind of like a Wakanda meets the future Boston meets, and we threw in the design gym because that's what the new space that they're doing here is, a space for people to be creative and to have design thinking. So we kind of put a little bit of that into some of the design, the feeling of it, what they want. We had a meeting to think about ideas. So that's kind of the base of it. So it's kind of like an Afrofuturism kind of view.
It's awesome. It's like giving me a little bit of like 8-bit, energy. Like I think a lot because of the colors. Like, I definitely feel the future vibes of it. Yes. Right after we finish with Cedric, we'll get you.
In the middle of a podcast right now.
We're totally live, but don't even worry about it. Everybody,
it's
there's been a
okay.
million people in and out.
Everybody
Don't even worry about it.
Vine is like, is
Free
this
form,
live?
free
We're like,
form.
yes, and then they're like, oh, and then they still keep talking, and we're like,
No, it's
but
fair.
it's fun though.
I
It's
think
fun.
I think I
It's
just
the
did
added.
the
It's
same
adding
thing.
to the experience.
This is what our viewers are used to. I promise.
Yes, they are.
Free form.
Literally.
We're not.
Loose.
We're not too.
You
rigid
guys have
in
a
that
good
sense.
following and growing following.
We're
growing it. We're
yeah. I think we would have a good following if we were more consistent.
yeah.
We actually had a really strong following. But we fell off in a lot of ways because our podcast, this is not our normal topics, subject matter. Usually we talk about local politics, which is
Oh, really?
rather exhausting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So sometimes we don't be feeling like doing that. So then we be falling off for like months. So then obviously with less viewers, you fall off. But when we do it steady, like a lot
Do
of
you
people
guys
watch
do
it.
arts and stuff?
Yes. I do visual art, but I guess I'm like hobbyist kind of, and I'm also a poet.
Oh,
And then you do like something for art.
Yeah, I do. So I dabble in a lot of things because I didn't really get into like really doing any style of art until very recently, to be quite honest. Yeah. So dabble in a lot of things, mainly just making like all of our ideas come to like fruition. That's kind
You're
of
a
like
writer.
yeah, I write sometimes too as well. So just a mixture of things. Obvious Nonsense, we're a very eclectic group
Well, yeah, you know,
yes.
of artists.
we can't stick to one thing. We're too our brains be too,
Yeah,
you
I'm
know.
the same way.
That's awesome. It's really exciting. So like when you think of like Afrofuturism or when you imagine the future, like what like how do you translate that, you know, into a project?
Well, a couple things. So I started really getting into. I'm not really an Afrofuturist, but I do have a lot of thoughts and think about it a lot, and I've done some work to envision it.
Right.
But I was inspired by Barry. He's been, exploring Afrofuture for a long time, and my teaching mentor, Natrice Gaskin, she is killing it right now with the Afrofuture. I don't know if you're familiar with her work, but technology, and she's working with youth and now working at Mass Art. But like, I've been really interested in graffiti starting from Black and Latinos, and like thinking about graffiti in the future and like the tools and how, because graffiti is forms of activists in a way, because like we are forms of active, and just the act of putting our names on walls. But like, what is the tools that people are going to use, and how are going to use graffiti to challenge the things that are happening in the world? So I've been thinking a lot about that, and I haven't really created any art on it. I did two Afrofuturism pieces. The first was exploring. It's called the Black Madonna, and that one's in Lynn. It was part of this mural festival called Beyond Walls, and I wanted to show a Black woman in a positive light. A lot of times, Black women are depicted as hypersexual and like, with like powerful, like Mary as Black first of all, but then powerful, and her gaze is just looking right at you. And as I was painting, people were just like, "Damn, I feel like she's like following me or walking away, looking right at me." And I really wanted to captivate that and focus on her beauty in a positive, strong. So that's, and I did a piece in Virginia as well. So those are the two pieces that I created.
Yeah.
But I really interested in more like graffiti, like writers and how they use it as a, like, are they going to be using spray paint? Is it going to be digital? Is it going to be like hacking into stuff and connecting messages? But what are the tools and like that are going to be used to share messages?
Right.
So I think a lot about that.
That's awesome.
And I haven't really created work, but I'm getting there.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like I need to have, like some of the stuff, like I'm not like, haven't gotten into exploring some of the readings that people have been exploring. So I'm not like, and I don't want to ever act like I am like, I'm like an Afrofuturist, and my knowledge isn't that vast, but I do, get inspired from some of the conversations with Barrington, because he's really knowledgeable and is thinking about it. But for myself, which is Barry's project, is kind of like just thinking about it without the knowledge, and just what do you think about it and how do you connect it? Right. So that's what I've been thinking a lot about. Graffiti's relation to it.
That's awesome. And I think the last question I have for you is, how did what do you feel like is the difference between like using spray paint on a wall, like, and doing like that sort of art versus like, for instance, like setting painting on a canvas, or even like, sketching, whatever. What about that spray painting and that doing it like that is unique?
Well, it's a lot. One, when I first got into doing graffiti in the early 90s, and when I saw a spray paint can, I always saw it was just sitting around. But when I really learned how to, like, when you press it, it's like magic to me. Right. It's like when you press it, like, think about it, like I don't know. I think very like you take a paintbrush, you put paint on it. It's the little brushes,
Right. Yeah.
and you put it on the canvas and you make a line. It's all faded. That's cool, but like it seems so old school.
Right.
Dip it and then make a line. But with spray paint, you press it, sprays out little dots, like almost like a computer JPEG. Like,
Right.
it's like
True.
pointillism, like little dots. And then you can fade colors. Like to me, like fading from one color to the next, doing with a brush. I'm very ADHD. I have patience. It'll take me months. To
Right.
fade.
Right.
I don't have that patience. I know you can use mediums, but like if I spray this gray with this gray, it's gonna blend so nicely. And like this is a beautiful tool.
Right.
And it's like, it's like, and it's amazing what people can do with it. It's just like people look at that, and it's funny because when people don't really know much about spray paint, they're like, "You did that with spray paint? What do you mean?" I've been teaching a graffiti camp for like the last 5 years, and the kids, once they touch the spray paint, they're like, "Oh my god!" And they spray like what, like, and they probably touched the can of spray paint, but this, with the caps and everything, it's like,
Right.
But I think it's a powerful tool, and it's like, and it's quick. A lot of it is because graffiti is illegal. It's a quick way to get a message out there. And then with street art and doing stencils, like you can do it quick. It's like done. You know what I mean? Like you put a fat cap, you can fill in this much area with a brush.
Right.
I mean, you can roll it, but you can fill it in like nice and clean and big. It's just a fun tool, like to work with too, and the effect of
It
it
is fun. We tried it for the first time like a
the
couple weeks
splattery
ago.
effect. It
Yeah,
just
it's
has-
really fun.
Yeah, learning
the
how to like
imperfections are even good. Like
just
Yes.
draw a line like you mentioned, or
Yeah.
just make little dots.
Make
It was so
dots,
interesting
not
to
drip.
just see.
It was
Yes,
cool.
not drip, and
Yeah.
it was just it's fascinating because we often think about spray paint as like a traditional form of art because we think of like a paint, we think of those mediums as like real art. But when we think about art communities like spray paint,
Renaissance
graffiti, that's where our art thrives, where we see it on our walls and we know
Yeah.
that the messages our communities are like sharing.
Yeah.
And so that's why I love Barrington's work a lot often because it's very like reminiscent of things you would see like on like a wall driving past in your neighborhood,
Yeah.
or just the messages that you kind of would receive. I think it's very impactful when you kind of have that medium of graffiti that people often like to neglect as like, oh, it's just harming the community. It makes the community look bad. But this is like showing just how beautiful graffiti can be.
Yeah, great points. And the other thing too is like, it's a remix if you think about it. Like a spray paint can isn't really meant for art. Originally, the
Right.
intent wasn't meant for art.
Right.
It was used
That's
to
why
fix
Black
things,
people
to
make
fix
it work.
car. It's like taking something and making it creative,
Right.
like a new
Right.
purpose.
Literally.
Remixing it for its original use. And I do a lot with my art. It's like taking tools and remixing. And within spray paint and graffiti culture and writing culture, like there's so many innovations within it. Like these nozzles, when you first bought a can of spray paint, they were just sprayed fuzzy, like fuzzy
Right.
lines. And someone was like testing, grabbing them off WD-40, grabbing them off this. They took a WD-40 and they took a straw. Someone came up with this idea and putting them together, freezing one and heating one up. And then you could transfer paint into the other. Someone thought of that. So like a WD-40 is for oil,
Yeah.
but someone took that. And people have taken these caps and like taken them and cut them. Like there's a line here, you cut it, you can make it fatter and make it come out. Like the ingenuity of things, like that creative thing is that me and Barrett were talking about earlier, is like the necessity of creativity because of like,
That
because not
guerrilla
having the money,
artwork, like I
but not
said.
having the money to do
Right.
stuff. Because when we were kids, me and Barry, someday we're going to do a show, but we talk about doing the show about all these things that we created as kids. Because we come from a big Jamaican family, and we just had it's like 13 uncles and aunts, but some of us were all young, and we had all this creative energy, but we didn't know what to do, and we didn't have money to buy it. So we should like take how people do the basketball hoops with the crates.
Right.
So we had to take it a step further and take a back tire, like a rim from a back tire,
Right.
take the spokes out, nail it up. You have a hoop and take a net, make a net out of it. We used to take an onion bag from like the onion, we would cut a hole in it, take a metal hanger, make it into a circle, put it in the edge of the door. It's a basketball
See,
hoop.
don't
with a
buy
cock.
your kids
But like
things.
using
Just give them an onion bag.
yeah,
see?
but like but there's like tons of things we did, making go karts and all these creative things we did because we didn't have money to do it, so we had to find ways of doing it. and it's remixing things and making new purpose of things, and spray paints the same way. And that's the beauty of this. It's like the guy who invented this, I used to know his name, but I forget it now. He would not, if you took him from his death and said, look at what people are doing with this, he would be like, oh my God,
Really, Max.
that's what? I didn't think of that. He wouldn't think that it would evolve into that. And then so spray paint, although it seems like a simple thing, it's an amazing tool, and it's being used to transform the world in a positive way through art and creativity. So,
Yeah, I'm really glad I asked you that question. That was that was a really great answer. And if we can find Lori.
I swear, who just brought this?
Oh, that was your what? Is that your
Who?
Somebody
is
brought
that the camera woman? That's your
That's my sibling.
oh.
Not my sibling, not my.
Okay, yeah, I was confused because he said because Barrington says somebody's. I thought she said somebody's wife. Who is he talking about then? That was somebody's wife.
I don't know. I don't listen to Barrington though.
Fair enough.
All right, thank you so much for being on. Let's go find hunt somebody else down.
Thank you for the interview.
Who shall?
Maybe somebody. Me waves at that lady.
Oh yeah, that's her. Yes, she's ready.
Waving people down. This is guerrilla warfare, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you. I want to follow the podcast. I love podcasts.
You can grab a sticker or a magnet.
Grab a sticker and a magnet and look up Obvious Nonsense. You'll find us. And all your favorite things.
We're live right now, just to give you the warning again.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So we're currently on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter.
Yeah.
Wow. Twitch?
Yep.
Oh, that's the one with the
video
games.
Yeah.
Twitch. Nice. Okay.
All right.
You are. Nice.
Yes.
Have new people onto the stage.
We're here. This is so exciting. So many rotating
Thanks for
guests.
coming.
Thank you for having us. Got my interview chops, getting all excited.
Obvious Nonsense Entertainment.
Yes, we're here. Welcome to Obvious Nonsense Off Broadway. Imagine Futures.
See those drugs?
So it's really awesome to have you. You're Lori, I know that.
I'm Lori. And this
Kenneth
is
Bailey.
Kenneth, nice to meet you. So first, I would love you guys to introduce yourselves and just tell us why you're here.
totally.
Well, we run a design studio.
Yes.
We both co-founded Design Studio for Social Intervention about 15 years ago. And this is one of the kind of public events that we like to support and help make happen. So we're here supporting, and Barrington's been an artist with the studio and a close friend of the studio's got for a good decade.
Right.
We love supporting his work. He loves supporting our work. So we're so excited to
This
be
is
doing
awesome.
this with him.
Yeah, I'm aware that this is like a newer space for you guys, right?
We've been here about 3 years.
Okay.
And we're turning it into a design gym. So that's the brand new thing, which is like really trying to turn the space like inside out, as Barrington actually explained.
Right.
So it's more often available to the community here in Upham's Corner and beyond, and doing more classes and prototyping and engaging people together, artists, residents, neighbors, organizers. Like, what do you want to see in your community? What's your hunch for what would make your community better? Help you meet a neighbor, what have you, and then how do we help you think about it, use the design tools that we have in the studio to rock it out.
Yeah.
Or work it out, since it's a gym.
Right. That's awesome. I think we've talked with a few of our guests about the importance of having spaces where people, can be uniquely creative, and not for not necessarily for a reason, but to be, creative and express, what they have inside. What about like that concept like brought you guys to doing this work? Why did you start?
I think we felt like communities often have their expressiveness truncated or abutted, and particularly in public space.
Right.
Whereas in a lot of other countries, people get to make publics how they want.
Right.
So we were really interested in creating opportunities for particularly BIPOC communities here in Boston, but also, around the United States. But a lot of our work here is focused in Boston and New England. To have the opportunity to make publics that make sense to them, And so we were like, let's get out in the streets and express ourselves and invite other communities to come out in the streets and express themselves and try to make public life the way we want it to be.
Right.
So for us, it's we feel like it's an issue of justice, like that public expressiveness versus being being sort of cut off from one's public life or public desires for life is a matter of justice.
Right. Yeah, I think that's so interesting and powerful, because when I think about like how like we as I guess as Americans and American society interact with like our public space, and even like from the way our streets are designed to like how often we have a park, or like what you're able to do in public. Like I think about often how there aren't really many free things to do in just in public in general. Like people will say like, oh well, why don't you stay home? But it's like, because I should be able to enjoy the world. I want to be able to go outside. I want to be able to do things that I shouldn't have to spend money to be able to enjoy just what's around me
all the time.
So it's so I feel like that's such a that's so awesome to me that somebody like really thinks about that and is making a step to have a space like that. Like me right now, I'm a community organizer, and I do like transportation organizing. So I do a lot of work around like bike lanes. Like I think about like how I work with the Boston Cyclist Union.
Oh, okay.
So I think about like how how our streets are designed and how they're not designed for like the public, really, in a lot of ways.
They're designed for cars.
They're designed to go and not stop. I feel like that's another thing when I think about like how much of our life is just on. And a lot less like taking time and taking space and really just feeling like what's around you. I think that's what I felt is unique about riding a bike more than like riding the bus or driving a car, is that you actually like look around and you're like, wow, there's stuff out here.
And just engagement with the community, just being if you're in the car, you're zooming past, you don't stop and look.
You make me think of like one of the first projects we actually did with Cedric here was a project we did called Making Planning Processes Public. And we did it over at the Main Streets office across the street. And we wanted people to know about the public and private plans that were happening here. But one of them that was surfaced was this planning project for Columbia Road. They wanted to put up a fence down the middle of Columbia Road. Right. So the pedestrians didn't jaywalk, so the cars didn't have to stop. But for neighbors in Upham's Corner, they're like, I'm trying to cut across the street and catch the bus, or I'm trying, we don't want cars to go by here faster, and we don't want our two sides of the neighborhood divided like that. That was also something that was important. So we were able. Go ahead. We ended up, we had a board talking about that plan out on the street, so people could weigh in heavily against it. We were able to share that with the WAG, the Working Advisory Group, right? So that actually stopped it, so that it was more of a space that people can walk back and forth.
Yeah, I think something that's definitely underrated is just how much like the community sometimes just doesn't know what's happening. Because a lot of things just happen like when they're at work and they can't reach and get to these like meetings that are about like pressing issues.
Or they never even hear about them.
Or you never hear about it. And so when the community does hear about it, they're engaged and they want to make the changes and they want to be involved in the process. But people don't know and they have no access to the information. I think there's like two pieces that we've thought about a lot. One is like, how do we make sure folks know? But the other is like, how do you create opportunities where people can imagine what they want instead of say yes or no to what someone else's idea is? And not just, I like this thing I saw somewhere else, but like maybe we haven't imagined the kind of public infrastructure that we want. That would really make us feel like we could be in public. That's why I really enjoyed Barrington's concept for this, because I remember, and I sent it like almost an hour ago when we first started, but one of the artists that was there, we had a conversation and Barrington was like, if you had no barriers to your art, what would you do? And the artist didn't know how to answer that. And I think our communities oftentimes also feel like restricted in that way because they have not been able to imagine like what their community could be, or like what changes could be.
And it's hard to imagine.
It is hard
because like that fence that they were trying to build, you see these projects come about and you're like, how did you think of something that would like and not keep us in mind? How do you not think of the community when you present these projects? And you feel very like stuck and like you can't move forward. But when you do get a community together and you're focused and you have a drive, they're like, we can work together to change things. And having that perspective is really necessary, and having like a gym where people can come together and work and flex their muscles.
Totally.
So their artistic muscles.
And build their muscles.
Exactly.
Build new muscles. Or it's like when you go to a workout I don't know, sometimes you go to a workout and you're like, wow, I have muscles that are sore that I didn't even know I had.
Literally.
Right? So what does that mean in a design gym? What new muscles would you didn't even know you had?
I think that's what Barrington, being our art mentor, has definitely pushed us to do, because I had never done figure drawing. Neither had you, really. We'd never done figure drawing before we met Barrington.
Okay.
And so that was like a first time experience. And I remember having to pick up, like, Barrington gave me charcoal for like the first time, and I had never like played with charcoal. And when you don't have like somebody to necessarily guide you to an experience, or somebody to just tell you, hey, this is a possibility, did you know that?
This is an option.
Yeah.
You know,
it opens the world to you to try different things that you would have never tried before. And now, like, I've painted when we did figure drawing, I've used charcoal, used just pencil, different capacities. And so when we have the opportunities to have like a gym where community can come in and just use muscles that you never used.
And it's right in the middle of a community that would, that would need it. Like, I think it's so often that, like, people will be like, oh, what are you talking about? There's totally an art space. It's downtown next to the Commons. And I'm like, I'm not going downtown. But if there's something I can come to Upham's Corner. Like, I can, right, exactly.
We're at 572 Columbia Road.
Yeah, exactly. Come through. And I think it's just powerful that, like, the idea of having community-led and community-built spaces, both in is super important. And I'm really scared that, like, art piece is gonna fall on a child, and then it's gonna be bad.
They're having a great time. They're in the imagined future.
See, that is, I believe the children are. But yes, this is so exciting to me. Like, I think it's such a powerful, like, space and such a powerful idea, and I think that, like, like, just hearing, like, people planning to do different workshops.
Yeah, what are y'all gonna do?
We listen. We have our what's it called? We have our civic engagement workshop. Totally fit. That was
done.
That was done. Yeah.
All right.
Or what is it? City council.
Yeah.
City council workshop.
That's why I went on advocating and how to advocate. We're working on a few different things.
Okay,
because
cool.
We realize,
Let us know.
People just often don't know how. It's not easy. I would never say, because community organizing is not easy, but they never know, like, how just like a simple email or a simple call to a city councilor can be very impactful and just make changes. And so that's something we're thinking about.
Okay.
But what I did want to ask is, how do people come to the gym? What's the process of, like, getting involved? Is there, like, a website, a Facebook page?
It's a great question. It's brand new. I mean, it's not even really open yet. Right? We're still launching it and inviting people to come through at events like this to say, what would you like to see here? What would you like to teach here?
That's even better. That's more exciting. You can, if you are able to attend an event at this location, you may be able to shape the future.
That's right.
Of what is offered
what you
here.
want in the gym. When do you get a chance to build your gym out?
And maybe if you have a creative something that you could offer people, maybe you want to offer a workshop here at the gym. Maybe you want to contact some people.
Leave a message, leave a comment, message us. We'll find it. We'll figure out a way.
But
on Facebook, we're DS4SI. I think that's the same with Instagram and Twitter, at DS4SI. So the design gym doesn't have its own thing yet, but you can always get us through DS4SI.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Is there anything else that you can talk about? Like,
no, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us here.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for podcasting.
We're a little silly.
Yeah, this is awesome.
I mean, obvious nonsense entertainment. That's
we try.
Having a little good time.
So fun.
This is not, like we keep telling people, this is not necessarily a typical focus. We focus on local politics.
Okay.
But we always, any opportunity to talk to people in our community.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, when it comes to politics, what we're trying to think ahead about is, like, how could we create a more propositional politics where community members are proposing things to the city, right? Instead of just responding, like I said before. So it's interesting to think about that in the context of politics.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like I said,
and we have an organizer base, so we're always community organizers. So it's always, I feel like I'll never get out of my position of I'm going to yell at a politician. Like I'm going to yell at them, even if I'm like, even if I agree with them, my brain set is like, yeah, I'm gonna go tell them how wrong they are. But
I think part of our thing is also just being able to tell the community, yeah, you can have input in your city because you elect these people. They're supposed to serve you. They serve the people that live here, and so you have an input in your city. The mayor, the city councilors, they don't make the final say necessarily on your city. You do. You have the input. And you have you can complain. Me and Malaysia love complaining.
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Come together, protest. There's so many different ways to get involved that are like can be so simple, but also very intricate and everything between.
True. Well, thanks so much. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for being on. Thank you for being live. Thank you for starting this. Oh yes, definitely. Take magnet.
Thanks.
Sticker.
Do you want us to send anyone over?
Sure.
We have people on this list, but honestly, if anybody, whoever want to come,
I'll send over.
You got Let's already?
No.
Right here. Let's say you want to jump in?
Yes, whoever's willing, come through.
I need Kara, can you find water?
Water?
This Gatorade is drying my throat out.
That water was for him.
Yeah.
For Cedric?
Yeah.
Is it open?
No.
It's unopened. Cedric gone.
Do you want a water?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
It's coldish.
What? This is our little interlude, guys. If you're still watching, you should.
There's actually one person watching. That's kind of crazy that even someone's watching this at all. But y'all be watching when we be out here being. Hello! Our next guest is coming to the table. Letter of DS4SI. That's very like the all of these, like that 4 is like a Y to me, and like the S is a 5.
Barrington did write that when we went to our brains, yes.
Yeah, that's like.
Yeah, that does
that
look like
font.
D5 for it.
Yes.
5-1.
Yes.
But,
Like a zip code.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, something. Maybe what's it called? A license plate. Okay. But yes, Letta, welcome to Obvious Nonsense Off Broadway Imagine Futures edition. We live. Really glad to have you here.
Thank you.
So the first thing, we just want you to introduce yourself and tell us why you're here, how you got here to this place.
Okay, well, my name is Letta. I got here via Stardust.
True.
And I got to the design studio for social intervention. Been working with Lori and Kenny over a number of years on interventions and actions and just projects that are happening. And now I'm here as one of the lead designers for the design gym, and happy to be sharing space and creating space and curating space with Barrington for the show.
Yes.
Imagine Future show.
That's awesome. Like, and I think it's interesting. We talked to like all the people who come up a little bit about Imagine Futures. Like, what does that mean to you? Like, when you hear that Imagine Futures or Afrofuturism, like, what does that mean?
Freedom. Always I hear freedom in that. Like, I don't imagine a future that isn't full of freedom. And I don't imagine that freedom, or how about this? I imagine that freedom includes like indigenous and ancient and new all at the same time. You know, there's stuff that our ancestors knew and know, because I think they're still living, and there is stuff that our elders know, right, that has been hidden from us. Much of it on purpose. Some of it by us strategically, thinking that we could pass it on silently, and it didn't work. You know, so for my imagined future, I imagine freedom in all areas, freedom to breathe, freedom to walk where we want to walk, just to dance, and freedom not have to think about none of this oppressive crap.
Right.
That would be cool, right?
Right. Honestly.
Right.
Honestly,
like it's not anti anything; it's pro everything.
Exactly. That's amazing. I want to ask you like a little bit more about why the design gym, why this work for your life.
why this work? Because I believe we have the power and it's necessary for us to make the future that we want.
Right.
Right. Like I can imagine a life of freedom all I want, but if I don't know how to plant something, right, then how am I going to imagine food? Right. If I don't know how to make a space that is, I said no antis, right? So I don't know how yet to make a space that is pro us, for us, by us, right? Meaning that we're just living and breathing because everything that we've been taught thus far via school systems and just via living here on this planet. Well, I don't know about the planet, but in these United States right now, like has bars on it, every single thing, our imagination, our non-imagination, every single thing. So if I don't know how to do that, I need a design gym, right, to help me know, like to help me because other people do know something about it, right? And I know something about it. So if I teach you what I know and you teach me what you know, and it could be a simple conversation, right, about anything, right? I know that reimagining the future. I'm skewing from what you asked me. I'm sorry.
No, go on. This is exactly what I'm looking for.
Like I am looking for the design gym to lead us. There's a sign in there that says "New strategies for new atmospheres." Right. So, new strategies for new atmospheres for me includes everything from a young woman that walks in and doesn't know anything yet about her menstrual cycle and how it flows. Right. All puns intended. Right. Everything from like somebody who really needs like a shelf in their house and they don't know how to make it. Right. To like we wanted to put on an event and we wanted to invite all kinds of people, but we don't know how to do that yet. Can you show me? Right? Can someone help me think about how to make an atmosphere or an event or a space where we all feel whole? Because I haven't learned that yet. Right? There's somebody that wants to learn juggling. They can come to the design gym. Right? It's everything spatial justice.
That's awesome. Spatial justice. That's a definitely Lori and oh my gosh, Lori mentioned that as well. Kenneth.
Yes, Kenneth.
Oh my goodness.
When you forgot, I said, I'll never get
Yo,
the name.
bro, I looked at Alejandra. Her eyes were just as blank.
I said, if you want me to remember a name, you're looking at the wrong one.
Like Lori and Kenneth also talked a little bit about spatial justice. And I'm like, that's something that really resonates for me. Like I said, I mentioned like I'm a transportation organizer right now, working at the Boston Cyclist Union. So just like really thinking about like how the streets we're not able to use, like the streets, like I think it's always so powerful when like that one protest chants that whose streets are streets, like it really means something when you think about it, like so much of what is our public space isn't for us, right? So I think it's really powerful, and I mentioned already that I think it's really powerful to have a space like this in the community, for the community, by the community. Literally, you can come, and I think that's the other thing too that I find really exciting about this space, and I think like it really speaks to me and I think us as well, is that it's for so many different things. Like there are so many spaces you'll go to where it's like, this is for people who do this very specific type of this thing, and it's like, this is cool, and I'm glad that something is focused around this and directed towards people who do that. But also, there are so many different things and there's no space to do so many of them. Like
we've always run into this issue because the Obvious Nonsense Entertainment is very eclectic. We do podcasts, we have our comic, we have like a bean box. We have so many different products that we work on, but there's never really a space. There's like one space. I've always said one space you can go to for this, and then you have to go to another space and another space,
which is ridiculous.
And then you just get out of energy. And I think it also just goes against greatly of how we as like people of color work. Like we love to just do different activities and just work in different projects. And when we see a project, we're like, wow, I'd love to work on that with you. This is great, so incredible to learning opportunities. So we do. But when we have such limitations on what organizations or what spaces can do, then we feel like restricted. And I know that for us, this has always been an issue. We'll leave spaces because we're like, well, we're restricted. We can't explore different things, or we can't connect different dots. When you're able to have a space that's more open and just flexible in what you can do, it allows the community to know that, oh wow, the same way that this room is flexible, I can be flexible.
Right.
And like
Right.
what I see can be flexible.
So I think of the design gym, just as you're talking about, I had this, where form and function matter, but restrictions don't.
Right.
Right. Where like a place where artists and activists and grandmothers can collab. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the restriction thing is not going to happen.
Right.
But there are structures that we need to like invest our time and our energy in, so that we can play play our game.
Right.
It reminds me of when I was a kid. I'm a poet, and I wrote what I call a sonnet. And my father was like, "This is not no blank sonnet. You can't write a sonnet. You're not a writer." So I learned to write an Elizabethan sonnet and Shakespearean sonnet and blah blah blah. And then when I learned it, I messed with it, So I played with different lines and did different stuff, and I called it a black sonnet. You know what I mean? But like, so there's like. All that to say, like, we just need to know everything we can know, and then we can do what we want to do.
Right. Exactly. That's also something that I feel like that's one of those tenets of like learning to do anything well. It, like for instance, there's so many like people who are like visual artists that like they refuse to like learn like any anatomy or like do figure drawing and stuff like that, because they don't want to they don't want to interfere with their own like what's it called, like their style. But I feel like a lot of people don't realize like when actually how to do something, then you're able to translate, and your style is more understandable to people. It's more like there are certain like this is probably not a good thing there. Yeah, I wouldn't suggest that. The kids are like running through the paintings. Like the paintings. Also, it was really windy earlier apparently, and nothing could stay up, so it's extra scary. But
they are zip tied.
But yes, like actually learning the basics, like learning the structure, learning the like. It's like a math formula, like like it's like there are certain things that are like that they're like, this is part of the universe, like this is one of those things that's that's just there, and once you understand that, you can play with it in a way that you want to play with it too, and speak.
Yeah, and I'm with you, and I feel you on that, and I also think there's a space for that person that doesn't want to learn anatomy and physiology in order to do a figure drawing in that way, but only if they realize that they have the choice to or not.
Right.
And that it could do something different. You know what I mean? Like, I'm more about like, I feel like for me, I would need to learn or want to learn, the anatomy and physiology of the thing. But I also feel like there probably is somebody that doesn't need to. It's the ego that is the jack thing. Right? The person's like, I don't need to, and I ain't got it because I'm this and I'm that. It's different than the person that says like, this is my mission. Right.
Exactly. Yes. I'm definitely with you.
And I'm engaging with it because this is how I've chosen not to take this class, but I had a choice.
Exactly. And I'm definitely with you there. I think it's the informed portion of it.
Yeah.
I think that's where I feel like it's like one of those things where you're like, yes, you should learn this thing, because even if you don't incorporate what it works, like you know that this is how people do this thing, and it's important to, I feel like, to also know how other people do a thing, like and affect like I said, making your voice clear.
I think the other thing that can happen in this design gym is that somebody who's a choreographer and somebody who's really great with tech, right? Or somebody who like makes car engines, whatever, can all be in the same space and come up with a thing.
Right.
And that way, like, my expertise lends itself into the next person's expertise.
Right.
And we all of a sudden we don't have to know
everything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
But we wanted to push this thing off into the world, and we got all these different people that we met here.
Right. That power of collaboration, that power of, people, like people in their, like, and they're what it really is expertise. Like, people bring so many different things, and it's nice it's nice to have a space where you're able, because like my art is elevated by talking to people who do whatever,
Right,
you know,
right.
like my art is elevated by talking to fashion designers.
Yeah.
You know, my poetry is elevated by talking to people who write books. Like
Right.
there's so many, you know, like there's just so many moving parts that it's just really nice to have a space where everybody really builds, and makes,
and the world,
does.
or at least the United States, would have us believe, or some portions of the United States would have us believe, that as an artist, as a writer, you're supposed to work in a silo and just write your thing, right? And being formed by only dandelions,
right?
Which dandelions, that's my junk. You know what I mean? I love
Right.
it, but there are other conversations to be had.
Exactly.
With the fashion designer, with
Right.
with the sky, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, with maybe a stockbroker, who knows, right?
Right.
Like, a conversation to be had, and we get. I feel like so much of our magnificence is put into a silo, right? Like accountants can only talk to accountants,
right?
You know, people who are design thinking can only talk to those type of people, and like, don't call that.
Right. Like, yeah, I think that's major. Like, honestly, just that. I think the willingness to have experiences and hear experiences and just be open to absorbing. And I think having the space where you can have those, because that's the other thing. Like, again, like this is, you know, probably one of the few spaces where people can just go and really experience. Like even if we want people to do those things, even if they want to do those things, they have to be accessible. It has to be there. It has to be funded. It has to be, you know, supported. And that's why we're here, and we're really happy that you guys are here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you have anything you want to add?
No.
Yes. Any last thoughts?
Come see us. We're right at the Design Studio for Social Intervention. It's the Design Gym, right on Columbia Road in Upper Corner. And look us up and come check us out. If there's something you want to teach or something you want to learn, this is the space.
Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it. If there's something you want to teach or something you want to learn, you better come.
I've linked their website and their Facebook, so contact them.
Yep, linked it in the comments. It's on every medium we're on right now. So y'all have no excuses.
That's right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. It's awesome. I have to take an actual intervention.
I was like, my computer's gonna die soon.
Like, seriously. Talk to a lot of people. How long? What time is it?
5:07. All right. Do we want to wrap up?
Probably. You get Barrington back for the wrap up.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, what? How you gonna turn around the moment I wave at you?
If you like this segment and you like us talking to people in our community and various artists, we can keep going and trying this as much as we can. We just wanted to have an opportunity to talk. Yeah.
Yes, we're live right now. We're just closing out, but we're warning you just so you don't. You can talk. I'm just warning you, so just in case you didn't want to be on camera. Variant. Okay. I just wanted him to come to close it out with us real quick. You know how dads be, bro. You know how when you at a party or cookout, they're like, no, we're leaving.
We're leaving. No, we're almost done.
No, and then they start to talk to 7 people. Can you come over here real quick? They look at people teach workshop, y'all. If y'all want to teach a workshop,
we're live currently. If you're wondering that we're not crazy.
If y'all want to teach a workshop, definitely. Y'all should do that.
You know, next time we need to get like a on-air thing.
Little on-air flip. All right. Now he asked me about did they eat. Now he's not even talking about nothing important. He just stalling now.
What's up?
All right, we're wrapping up because the computer is dying.
Yeah.
Oh, you need power or?
We've been on for almost 2 hours, so we're gonna wrap up.
Oh, okay.
Vocal cords can only handle so much, and we went to the Brenna concert last night. My vocals.
It was really good though.
Not strong enough to last.
All right, I'm sorry I didn't send enough people over. Did you?
No, you did. I think we had a really great show, honestly.
Who else did you have? Who did you?
So we talked to Lori and Kenneth. We talked to Cedric. We talked to Letta.
Okay, dope.
We talked to Renee and Karen for a second.
Did you talk to Joelle?
No.
She's busy. Have you seen what she's been doing?
No.
She's been doing these Afro-futuristic fits, and then based on the prompts, and then having people taking pictures in front of the art that they did.
We talked to those little boys who were trying to kill themselves on your art.
You told them to stop?
Yeah.
They are loving it. They are loving it. Like I to me. Oh.
See, this is what we were expecting. See, he's fine. No one say anything like,
no one
because
look,
then
look away.
He'll be like,
guys, look away. Don't look
up.
towards. Look away.
He good.
I'm gonna get sued for leaving that ladder out there.
I was wondering about that ladder. You know what's funny? This is my telepathy, because I was looking at that ladder the whole time. Like, that shouldn't be there. But he cool. He chilling. He young. But yeah, we just wanted to have you here to wrap us up.
Oh wait, are we still live?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, you're wrapping us up.
It's okay.
You just said no more.
You didn't say nothing bad.
But yeah.
Oh, you're wrapping it up. All right. I had a couple more people who were like, "Yeah, I'll be on the podcast," but we're burnt out.
It's hour 45 minutes.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of time.
That's a lot. So how's it go? How's it been? Are there people watching?
There have been people coming in and out. My mom left a comment.
Hey, Mom, is she still? Did the Yankees win?
I don't know.
Boo. New York.
Yankees.
But we wanted to wrap up with final thoughts. Anything you wanted to say? Any appreciations for the world? I don't know. Anything you want to say to wrap up?
You want to talk about traveling to the orbs as a black man?
Travel to what?
Or talk about your murals either too. Something.
I appreciate y'all. I appreciate you. I appreciate the energy. I appreciate everybody. Like, I appreciate Joelle. I appreciate MK, the model. Oh, look at that beautiful Maya. Yes, Maya. Yes. If the camera was on Maya, like, you have to see this. I know. I'm sorry, people out there in podcast land, you're not seeing, but there's some amazing stuff coming on. I was really, tired today, and I'm glad there's so much good stuff is happening. So the future, this is showing me that yes, people can indeed imagine the future if they're prompted, given some time and space. Right, be a little bit more patient. I think, I appreciate you, Nakira, for being Nakira was a ride or die on this project, and would not let me yes, I'm still doing it, and it was tough because it wasn't a. Did you interview Nakira?
Yes.
Yeah, this project, I wanted Nakira to tell the truth about how tough this project was, because it was hard to organize stuff in my head. I think it's easy, but then I realized everybody doesn't live in my head. So I appreciate the patience, because I know I require a lot of patience. So that's why I'll drop stuff to do stuff for good people, because everybody shows me a lot of love. Obvious Nonsense. I love y'all. Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan. You don't know.
Literally.
All right.
You see it. We
out.
Peace.